Good morning, friends. So as you can see, oh my hair, as you can see, we have a whole lot of dough to work with this morning. So this dough we put together last night, about 13 and a half hours ago now. I'll insert that footage in just a second. But what this dough is a German, I think it's a German style or German method, I don't know. I haven't done too much research. It was late. I'm like, let's just get something, a new type of bread dough, because it's like, I love the breads that I make, and I make a lot off camera as well, but I haven't found the one that's perfect. So I'm like, let's try something new. Came across this on Pinterest. I believe the website is Karen's Kitchen Stories. I'll leave it all down below anyway if you want to go check out where I got this recipe from. And it's fermented overnight. They said at least 12 to 14 hours. We're about 13 and a half hour mark. So now we're going to get into this dough and make bread rolls. This is a very big recipe. It used 1 kilo of flour. And I think we should be making about 18 bread rolls. And they should be nice and crispy and crunchy rolls. So we are going to get that started. I just want to, because I only have a little sheet, I'm probably only going to be making, I'm hoping 6 at a time. Hopefully it's not 4 at a time. And they're going in the oven for about 20-25 minutes. So I just want to get the first lots. No, actually we need to shape them and then they have to rise again. Sit for an hour. Okay, so we'll get them all shaped, let them sit for an hour. Obviously some, as these are baking, they're going to sit for a little longer. Should be okay. We'll do that and then I can go get myself all ready. I just, wanted to start these rolls. Or the next stage of the rolls at least. Also, don't mind, I'm looking a bit like a Rudolph because I haven't been feeling well this week. So Nick and I, we done like foot massages and nose pore strips and just little pampery things together. And every time I do a pore strip, I always pick. So now I'm like, whoops. Anyway, so yeah, I'll leave the recipe down below. Let's get into shaping these rolls. So we're shaping them. I need to check. I only written down the first bit. I hadn't written down the full recipe. I believe we shape them, wait half an hour, and then we have to reshape them, wait for an hour. We'll just figure it out. But for now, for you guys, I'll insert the footage from last night of getting this dough started.
So for this recipe, it does call for an all-purpose plain flour, but I have so much baker's flour, I'm going to be using that. And then that was the yeast I normally use, and then the Redmond real salt. I'll leave a link for this salt down below if you wanted to check that out. And you definitely need to, well, you don't need to, but the measurements are done in weight, so I weighed out the measurements, the ingredients. So we're starting off with 1 kilo of flour. This bread flour worked completely fine with it, and I'm sure most bread flours will be completely fine with it. And again, the original recipe is written with an all-purpose plain flour, so I am sure that is definitely fine with it. And we wanted to add in 4 teaspoons of yeast, which worked to be about 14 grams, and gave that a mix together. Now, one thing that I did think was interesting with this recipe is that there was no sugar. I was always under the impression that you needed sugar to feed the yeast. Not in this case. I don't know if it's to do with the long fermentation overnight, like the 12 to 14 hour process to ferment the dough is not needed for sugar. Like, it was fine that there was no sugar. I mean, it worked, so it must have been fine, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting because I always thought you needed sugar to feed the yeast. Anyway, now we are adding 680 grams of water. You want it warm enough to dissolve the salt, but not too warm to kill your yeast. And with this Redmond real salt, you can see the salt here mixing it around, and it did take a little bit of work to get it dissolved. It wasn't even completely dissolved, as you will see right here, but it's dissolved enough, so it's fine. I was fine with that. 22 grams of salt. I don't know if I said that or not. And that is it. That is all our ingredients. So flour, yeast, water, salt. Mixing that together. This is also a no-knead recipe, but I did wet my hands and just give it a little bit of a mix because it was just a lot of flour at the bottom. I just thought it's easier to work with my hands. You can definitely use a stand mixer or a dough hook on a hand mixer, anything like that, because as you can see it's a very sticky wet dough. But just roll your hands back and forth. Eventually I remember that trick and I get to do it, and that definitely does work a lot better. There we go. That works a lot better to get the dough off of my hands and my fingers. So just kept it all in the bowl, didn't need it on the bench or anything like that. And it's very shraggy, like it's very similar to sourdough, I thought, this recipe, so that was super fun. Cover it with cling film, and then I do like to get a paper towel, not a paper towel, a tea towel underneath, just to protect the bowl, like a layer between the bowl and the bench, because sometimes the bench does get a little bit chilly, and the tea towel just acts like a little blanket in a way for the bowl and for our dough. So I like to just, cook with a little bit of love and tuck it all in. And that is how we were looking like once it was all set and done. And I went straight to bed after this and woke up to this, which is fantastic. It's nice and airy, and I was kind of nervous that it might overflow on the bowl, but it was fine.
Okay, so I just looked back at my recipe and I've written down, I just scribble. I would love to invest in a printer and actually get things printed, but then I also don't want to print things if it's recipes that I know I'm not going to reuse. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about lately. Anyway, so I just scribble down notes from the recipe just so I know what to do and I'm not constantly reading lots of sentences to figure out what to do. So with our dough, we need to divide this into 18 pieces, which should be approximately 94 grams each, and just roll it into a round. Let that rest for 25 minutes, and then we need to tightly roll it into an oblong shape and let that completely rest and proof and rise for 1 hour, and that's going to give us our rolls. From there we will score and bake. It said to put that in the fridge just before you score for about 10 minutes if you really want that ear. So if you work with sourdough, and this is another reason why I really liked the look of this recipe, is this is very similar to sourdough. It is a no knead bread, and I love sourdough for the texture of the dough and the bread, but I just don't like the sour taste unless if it's toasted. I love sourdough toasted, but I don't like it as fresh bread. But otherwise I love the texture and everything else about sourdough. So this reminded me a lot of a sourdough process, but obviously it does have yeast. Anyway, so score and break. Oh yeah, if you want that ear, so that's a very popular sourdough term. It's just when you score that little piece and it gets really dark and crispy. So they recommend putting it in the fridge. I don't really care for that, so I'm not going to worry about that step. I'll just leave them on my bench. We'll score it and bake it. But they also want you to bake it with steam. Now I don't have a set steamer on my oven, so I'm just going to use a little, like a loaf pan or something with a bit of water in there and have that on the lower rack. Hopefully that'll be okay. I've never made a bread with steam before. And then it's at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 232 degrees Celsius, and it's 15 to 20 minutes they bake at. So a little bit shorter than I originally thought. So that is great. Right, let's get these rolls rolling. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put parchment paper on my bench and put it on because there's going to be so many rolls.
The audio of these couple of clips wasn't the best, so that's okay. All I am doing here is just putting down some parchment paper to cover my bench, and that's what I'm going to be using to put the dough on. But I just wanted to be a little bit more careful to prevent some sticking, and I just slightly dusted some plain flour. So I used the bread flour in the recipe. I do have so much bread flour, but plain flour is cheaper, so I just use that to dusting. That's purely just to prevent from stickiness. So we opened up the Glad wrap, and I just wanted to feel it. It was still quite sticky, nowhere near as sticky as it was when I made up the dough and then ended up using my hands the night prior, but it is still a bit sticky. So I'm going to go and wet my hands when I work with this, and the wetness on your hands just help to prevent the dough sticking to your hands. And like I said as well, each piece we want 18 pieces to be about 94 grams each. So I do have my scales, and eventually I do put a piece of baking paper underneath the scale because I could tell that the dough was sticking to the top of the sticks. The dough was sticking to the top of the scale. Oh my goodness. So right in this clip, the audio is fine, but I was kind of concentrating, so I wasn't talking anyway. So Yeah, give or take as well, a couple of grams. Like I'm not doing it bang on 94 grams for all of the dough balls.
All right, this is 95 grams. I don't even know how to roll it. I'm just gonna, it's just so sticky. I'm just gonna plump it like that, I think. Oh, I'm already so sticky. I think I need a bit of parchment paper here. Re-wet my hands. A chunk. Oh, tear the weight of the parchment paper because that's 2 grams. We're at 93. What do we want? 94. That's close enough because it's only approximately. I guess with my hands more wet and I didn't. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that, I think. Fine. 127 grams. So just ripping a piece. Whoops. Now that's 87 grams. 96, close enough. I think I'll do like give or take 3 grams. And because I'm using this piece more, it's already getting more sticky on my hands. I'll just leave it like this, I guess. Okay, so it's going to be a little back and forth with my hands, with the water. Yeah. $113. 94, perfect. That's a bit little. Yeah, 68. 81. 90. 95, that's okay. So I think I can really do 2 balls and then I have to re-wet my hands. That's okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the minute. I think I am definitely glad I dusted this baking paper with flour. All right, 81. I'm just going to go ahead and continue with all of this dough. 94, perfect. And we'll cover it for 25 minutes and then we'll be back. Alrighty, so we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 full rolls. This last one here was only 71 grams. That's okay, it's just a bit smaller. So what did I say? 17, so 18 rolls in total. And the recipe did say it will make, yeah, 18 rolls. So I don't know why I thought that was wrong. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, they're so sticky. I'm going to dust them with flour and then just loosely put Glad wrap over the top just so the air doesn't dry out these rolls. I'm going to clean up my mess, which we've already accumulated some dishes and wash out my bowl. Put these dishes from last night away. I can unload the dishwasher from last night and then we should be back with making the next step. So that's what they're looking like now, resting for 25 minutes. All right, so I got all the cleaning things done. Made myself a coffee, chucked my hair up because it's just hot and sweaty and it's getting in the way. It is really hot in here. I don't know how to move forward with these breads. So we need to tightly roll them into oblong shape balls. But they're so sticky. So I think I'm gonna have a little working area, dust it with flour, squish out the ball, roll it, put it back where I have them, maybe. And then we wait an hour and hopefully they puff up to nice big rolls. Because although they've been resting, they're like not puffing up, I don't think. I don't know, I don't really notice any difference. I think we're just going to do this. This is just an experiment. Should have done more research? Yes. Did I? No. Alrighty, so feel like we're gonna need lots of flour because it's so sticky. I don't want to add any more moisture to these rolls, so I'm not going to keep wetting my hands. We'll see. And we're going to start with the first roll that we laid down. And I've just peeled back the plastic. So roll it tightly. Let's just pat. There we go. What shape's an oblong? I don't even know how to say that bloody shape. So we got a rough rectangle. I'm going to take this corner. Just roll. Roll. Tuck in these ends. Okay, these are very well floured. It's not an oblong shape, that's regular. Gotta pinch these seams a bit more better. See, I'm turning it into a ball now. I like doing this motion when you cup your hand like a C to get it nice and tight. So let's try that. And then I guess we can, oh, it is stuck to the parchment paper a little bit. So, actually no, what I was going to do was do the C straight up. And then that way it's not as sticky. Still doesn't feel like it's getting very tight. It's so airy. Pinch in these seams. It seemed a bit better. And now I'm gonna roll it in this flour and just kind of shape it more like a, you know what, we're doing it like that. Oop. So straight away, sticky. Once I start rolling it like this, it's okay. The seams. Do that again. Ooh, bit sticky on that side, it's okay. And then we roll it into flour. There we go. That is the method I am going to go. And we'll see how these rolls turn out. Okay, I've now done all of these the same, but I want them not as regular rolls. I still want that shape to them. So what I'm gonna do is go back and I'm just gonna stretch it out. That's all, just stretch it out. So hopefully they do rise. I'd rather them more like a mini baguette. Maybe if I pinch the ends a bit, that might give it more of that oblong shape. I don't know. But I'd rather them more like a mini baguette than a round ball. So that's all I'm gonna do now. Just go back and stretch them out a bit. So it's been a little bit over an hour and this is how they are looking. Which honestly, they're so small. I thought they would be bigger, so I'm hoping that they bake up bigger. But oven is preheated at 230 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to use this sliced tin with some water to make the steam. I hope this is right. And I've also got the main shelf. So I've just filled this up maybe like, yeah, a centimeter thick of water. And I got the main shelf that we're going to be baking on just above middle, and then this will go underneath. So I'm going to put this in the oven now. The oven is preheated. And then I got our regular baking tray, which we will line with baking paper, and I reckon we could do 6 at a time. So we got the baking paper. I'm just going to, the first one's definitely a funny looking shape. Still quite sticky, ain't it? Oh. I'm gonna put some flour on here. Alrighty, so we'll dust this with flour as well. So yeah, they're definitely small little rolls, which is a bit unfortunate. I'm gonna do 4. I don't think 6 is gonna fit because they should hopefully puff up quite a bit in the oven. Now we're gonna coat them with flour and rub the flour in gently because we want to score, and it's going to make it look so pretty. All right, I'm just trying to figure out how to set up this tripod. Now I do have a bread lane, although I'm not very good with the technique with this, using this thing. So this is just like a razor blade that Nick bought me for my birthday last year, actually, when I was really into my sourdough. Got my sourdough kit, which came with this. Anyway, so we're just gonna do 1 off center cut or score. Yeah, I definitely don't have the best technique with this, but that's okay. Just one quick motion. Alright, just drags. Maybe I need to change my blade out, but whatever, it will do. So put my cover back on. Now these are gonna go into the oven for 15 minutes, but we'll check them in 15 minutes. They might need 20. The recipe says 15 to 20 minutes, so 15 minutes for now. So they were in 15 minutes. I rotated the tray another 5 minutes, so they're total for the whole 20 minutes. And I said to Nick, I'm like, they're cuter, but they're so little, and I wanted like proper size rolls. And I showed him the picture that I found on Pinterest, and I'm like, oh, hang on, that's obvious to me now. It's a mini basket and mini rolls. When I first saw the recipe, I thought it was a regular size basket and regular size rolls. So they're cute. They ended up being a little bit cute, but they are mini rolls. So this is not going to be the recipe to stock up our freezer for regular rolls, but we can stock up our freezer with some mini rolls. And I definitely can fit some more on my tray. I like the color on this one. The rest is a bit paler. I think it was a little bit dramatic with the flour. So what I'm gonna do, they are very hot, but I don't think all this flour was needed. So I'm just gonna, oh, they are very hot. Brush off the excess, pop them on the cooling rack. Woohoo! They are very hot rolls. Woo. They are cute though. That is cute. Okay, so they're cute. Just mini, but I'm sure they're going to be delicious. They smell really good. So the next batches, I'm going to be not so dramatic. Oh, it's hot. Not so dramatic with the flour. We can put more on. I am going to change out my baking paper just because it's getting crispy, and because the oven's so high, we don't want obviously the paper to burn. Okay, this might be a little bit dramatic, but I got 8 rolls. I don't want to tip my tray over. I got 8 rolls on. Hopefully that'll be fine. That way we got 6 left. Otherwise, if I'd done 6 and 6, we'd only have 2 left. So should have done the first lot as 6, done 6 each tray 3 times, but that's okay. We got 8 now, and same thing, I'll pop it in. Oh, it's hot. It is steamy in there, which is nice. So 15 minutes, and then I'll rotate the tray and do another 5 minutes, and then they should be done.
So for the look of these rolls, they are a bit unusual in shapes. I think they do look cute. That one's probably my favorite. That one looks the best. I wanted to mimic as well her picture of them in a basket, so I done that and I thought it was really cute. But they're just quite pale. Her colouring was very nice brown. It's probably edited. I don't know. Can I say that? Who knows? But they are quite pale. The intentions for these rolls is to go into the freezer and then re-crisp them up in the oven for about 10 minutes. I have done that a couple of times since filming this, and they crisp up so well. They taste just as fresh as this one here I'm about to taste test. Cutting through though, it seemed a little doughy. Definitely not as airy as I thought it was going to be with how the dough was filling making these rolls, but they don't taste doughy. It's very unusual, but they are delicious. So I'm just making myself a little Dijon mustard and ham roll. This deli meat container, by the way, I'll leave that down below. Amazing. So yeah, the rolls being so little, it does look a little funny. They are definitely intended for dinner rolls. I just didn't know that because I didn't really read the post properly. I just went by picture and thought they were normal rolls.
So, taste test. We have some ham, butter, and Dijon mustard. It is a nice crisp out crust. When I cut it in, I thought it was going to be quite dense, but eating wise, it's not. I really like the crispy. And I thought because they were a bit more paler, it wouldn't be as crispy, but it is. It's like the chewy crispy, not like super crispy. And it's thin. It's a thin layer, which is very nice. We'll see how they hold up in the freezer. I might do this. I probably will do this recipe again. This is really good. And I popped them in a basket. So this is how the lady had her Pinterest photo. Was a basket with them in, and I thought it was like a big basket and big rolls. They're definitely miniature rolls, which is fine. Not what I was going for. I was hoping today or last night, even making the dough, regular size lunch rolls was my plan. But dinner rolls works good too. So they're just so cute in this basket. I don't know. I just done it for a picture and it worked out really cute. So that is all for today's video. Rolls, delicious. I like the crisp. I would have preferred more color, but again, they are intended for the freezer to come out to get re-crisped. And they possibly will get more color then. I think I will. We'll see. But I do think there's a high chance we will make these rolls again. We'll just see how they go in the freezer. But eating them fresh, like this, is delicious. So, thank you for coming along and watching my rolls turn into not a fail, because they work. They're just miniature to what I was intending. But it was fun, and we still got delicious rolls out of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!